Welcome to the Kelo7x4Ever show. Please subscribe to the channel. We're about to get into a heated discussion back when Akon was talking about the difference between African Americans and Africans. You gotta listen.
Yourself today. Are you American? Are you African? Are you African American? What are you?
I'm an African raised in America. You know, clearly.
So you're not American?
I wish I was, but my mind is not African. I mean American. It's clearly African.
But you have the accent. You have,
I went to school in America. All my whole earlier childhood, I was raised in Africa. Then I came to America. Every summer, we would go back to Africa for a vacation. And then when I graduated high school, it was a choice whether we wanted to go to Africa or stay in the U.S. And just the opportunities in the U.S. were so much greater than Africa.
Well, you're certainly the perfect example of the American dream coming true.
Well, thank you.
Millions of Africans who make it to the States and who don't, have the same success and the same luck as you have. And what would be your advice to a young African who's immigrating to the United States today?
Well, I think this advice will go to any person migrating into the States. Ultimately, you can't change who you are. And I think the biggest obstacle is that when people come to the U.S., they kind of alienate their original personalities, way of lives, and they conform to what's there. And when you do that, first of all, you will never get accepted.
But isn't that the best way to integrate?
Absolutely not, because first of all, it's no way you can move forward and you're not you. Like, one thing I do notice about America is that they respect other cultures. They actually admire other cultures very much. So when they can see the difference in who you are, their attitude towards you is completely different as well too. But if you're walking into me and I know you're a foreigner, but you're acting like an American, you just seem fake. It's not genuine. So the respect level is completely different. But if I walk up to you as an American and you're clearly an African or Asian, that makes me more curious about who you are. I ask more questions. I'm now more, I'm more intuitive about what this is. I get more motivated to want to learn more about it. And then the respect level is different because now you're teaching me something. You follow?
So when you're in the States, you're proud to say you're African?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, clearly African.
Right. You once told the Source magazine, and I want to quote this: "Black people in the U.S. can nag all they want how the system is against black people, but if they saw how other people lived in Africa, they would see how blessed they really are." Do you still believe this today when you see unarmed black teenagers being killed by the police, when you see protests in St. Louis, in Missouri, where you lived for a long time, when you see people taking to the streets in Atlanta and New York to denounce police brutality against young African American men? Do you think the system really is for these people?
Well, the system was never for them.
So what made you say this to
because when I said that, I was talking about the environment and where they live and the rights that they actually have and the blessing that they do have actual access to. In Africa, the way I grew up, let's just pick a project in New York, for instance. That's a 5-star hotel compared to the environment I came up in. Like, if they see how they live, they actually get money from the government. They actually are programs that helps the impoverished and the poor, and you get food stamps, and they have it good compared to Africa. You follow? There's a huge difference in how the government allocate funds towards poor and how the government allocates funds towards poor in Africa. The environments are not even left and right. If these guys were able to be taken from where the environment they're in now to the same equal environment in Africa, they would be crying to come back home to America.
But you say now that the system is against them. When you talk about
now let's get to the system.
Yes, through the
I was
system.
talking about way of life.
Right.
Now, as far as the system in America was never built for black people. And this is my personal opinion. I'm speaking for myself. I don't believe it was never built for black people because that system has never been changed. Those documents has never been altered. These things were made back in the umpteen hundreds, and these are the same exact literature that's down today. So mind you, at the time it was made, black people was never in a position where they were, looked at as equal. So if it's the same documents that they're applying today in 2014, it wasn't meant for them.
What was it like growing up as a black man in America?
Well, in America it was a little different because I was a foreigner. I was African and I was very dark skinned. And at the time, dark skin wasn't really in style, so I was always getting picked on in school. So my
But you were in trouble a lot.
That's what got me in trouble. It was frustration.
What got you in trouble?
Just, you know, the way I felt. I felt I was being mistreated and unfairly judged because I was African. So I was always in fights. And
You spent time in jail?
I spent some time in jail. Collectively about 3 years, but my longest bid was about 6 months.
What for?
Stealing cars and hustling. Yeah.
So again, what was it like then? I mean, when you see, you know, Ferguson, Missouri today, and you know, you hear of Michael Brown and Eric Garner and so on. Do you sympathize? Do you understand that experience that these people are denouncing today?
I clearly understand the frustration. What I don't understand is that how, like, if I'm in a position of where they are, and I don't want to speak too much from them because I think I may have some knowledge that they may not quite have, right? Because I've been in a position where I've experienced Africa and I've experienced the United States. I always felt like Africa was for Africans. So when I see African Americans in America dealing with all these issues, my first question is, why don't they just go back home?
Where?
Back to Africa. Will they be treated fair? Will they actually be praised for who they are because of the fact that they're American? They'll get way better treatment. They can invest their money
But come
back
on,
home.
Akon, how do you tell people who've lived for generations, centuries and centuries in one land to move back to a place
Well,
that they don't know? I mean,
no, but that's my point. They
Right.
don't